I gotta make some freaking TikToks, dude. LOL. Very cool, very cool, cool, very cool, very cool, very cool, very cool, very freaking cool indeed. Very freaking cool in an authoritarian country. Destiny's got some balls. Tell you what, he's got some balls on him. He's got some balls on him. He sure does. He's got some balls on him. Tell you what, he sure does got some balls on him. I'm gonna do the first part of this video for TikTok, so it's gonna be like a 60-second opener about this conversation. Let me see what I have here. These people are disgusting. They really are. This is the biggest attack on the First Amendment in my lifetime. There was cancel culture in America, a cancel culture. I spoke out against cancel culture sometimes because sometimes it went too far. A kid who's going to college at 18 who rapped Little Baby at the age of 12, and they said the N-word. That person probably should not get their entire life ruined. I agree with that. But cancel culture was relegated to a very small part of the internet. It still happened. It was still a real thing. It was cancel culture. Cancel culture. This right here is fully integrated government coercion and the biggest attack on the First Amendment in American history, in modern American history. The FCC director is explicitly making political remarks, calling Jimmy Kimmel blackface Kimmel, and saying they're going to use the government power and licensing powers to restrict the ability for broadcasters to carry Jimmy Kimmel's content, attacking Disney, attacking ABC. The same guy, okay, who has a Trump pin, all right, like Mao, like Stalin. He has a Trump pin with Trump's head on it. These people are fully authoritarian guys. They believe in a dictatorship in America. They have no values whatsoever. This is them, all right, right here, saying that it's really good this happened because, although unprecedented, it's important for broadcasters to push back on Disney programming that they determine falls short of community values. They did not determine. The big government determined that this was against community values or whatever. And this person has said before, you know what they say? They are libertarians out of power and authoritarians in power. I know so many libertarians who voted for Trump. So many supposed libertarians who are now full-blown authoritarians. And Joe Biden and liberal, this is them a few years ago, right? A few years ago. They said the government should not censor speech. The FCC does not have a roving mandate to police speech in the name of public interest. Now, Joe Biden made the mistake of not doing this. Joe Biden was principled. Democrats were principled. They said political comedy, political satire, these pundits, it matters to protect their freedom. Even Republicans. There was no Joe Biden or Barack Obama calling for Fox News to be taken down, although they lied about the election. They got a civil suit. They paid hundreds of millions of dollars to Dominion. But there was never a time for the government to fully crack down on a media company's right to free speech. Now you have Trump calling for... Trump calls for a bunch of other... Yeah, here's the quote on political satire. Now Trump's calling for Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers to be canceled completely as well. They're saying they did it for Charlie Kirk. They did not do this for Charlie Kirk. He is their martyr. They have ripped Charlie Kirk to shreds, and they got whatever they wanted from Charlie Kirk's dead body. They have lied about Charlie Kirk's last text message. Everyone from the Trump administration, every right-winger is currently saying Charlie Kirk's final message he sent me on text is whatever fits my current agenda. All right, he told me, like Stephen Miller said, he told me that I should do a full communist dictatorship, a fascist dictatorship in America, and put all the Marxists and the communists in camps to make sure Donald Trump's political opposition, because Donald Trump is my Pookie Bear. He told me, Charlie Kirk told me to kill all the liberals because They are gay. It's just like they all just use this man's death to fit their narrative. And Jimmy Kimmel is 100% on the money with his criticisms here.
With the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything.
Now, one of them when it comes to MAGA, could it be not true? Sure. But Fox News has called for a civil war this week, saying this person is a radical Antifa super soldier and a terrorist in America from a terrorist cell, when it was probably a lone wolf gay Republican. It was probably a gay Republican, super pro-Second Amendment. He had the ideas of a libertarian or a radical centrist. Okay? It's probably someone from a Mormon background who was somewhat radicalized, and in a sociopathic manner, they did an act of violence. It's pretty senseless. People like that are usually not very directional in their beliefs. All right? But one of your own when it comes to white, Christian, Mormon from Utah, 100% true. You saw how they scaled back the attacks once they realized who this kid was going to be. This kid was not going to fit the identities they wanted to attack.
They can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started.
This was right after it happened, bro. After they said Trump loved Charlie Kirk. They said Trump was in love with Charlie Kirk and everything. Charlie Kirk gave his entire life to Trump's political project.
Construction of the new ballroom for the White House.
Trump does not give a singular care.
Trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years, and it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult
Jimmy
grieves
Kimmel's
the
not
murder
even
of
funny.
someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Very true. True. If you're offended by that, bro, please get a pair of ball sacks. A pair of nuts in your ball sack. Holy shit, bro. Like, the shit you have said about George Floyd, about liberals, about how trans people got to be executed, Fox News, just this, in the past 7 days, called for homeless people to be gunned down. And today there's a mass shooting where someone went and mowed down homeless people randomly, just killed like 10 of them in a homeless encampment in Minnesota, Minneapolis. Fox News said that this week. Nothing happened to them. There was no threat for community safety their way. They probably encouraged a mass shooting today. It's just crazy, the double standards. It's not crazy, though. They're hypocrites. They've been hypocrites. They've been hypocrites. They just don't like the liberal Hollywood elites, quote unquote. That's their only grievance. But yeah, you could see now who's going to stand for freedom of speech, who's not going to stand for freedom of speech. All right. So how this works here, the FCC controls a lot of licensing across the country. So we have a bunch of local broadcasters. No one's local anymore. It's all monopolies. But Sinclair Broadcasting Group is disgusting. They are demanding, Sinclair Broadcasting Group is demanding that Jimmy Fallon donate to TPUSA. And now they are running a Charlie Kirk special in Jimmy Fallon's time slot for the next week or something. So they are using big authoritarian pressure on this. This company owns 178 televised stations in 81 markets, affiliated with all major broadcasting networks. Owns a tennis channel, owns a bunch of other channels as well. These monopolies. Big issue. Big problem. But yeah, they're lying frauds. Joe Rogan predicts Harris and Walz's administration are going to clamp down more on freedom of speech after Tim Walz said in 2022, there's no guarantee to free speech for misinformation or hate speech. If you're telling someone, for example, that the election day is on the wrong day, or if you tell them to fill out their ballot in the wrong way on purpose, if you obstruct their right to vote by using disinformation directly, there is an actual cause there for it to not be legal. If you purposely say to somebody, hey, election day is actually tomorrow. Actually, no, you sign your ballot like this and you know it's wrong on purpose. It's a very high legal standard, but what he said there is not wrong. And encouraging violence is also not covered. That's what Tim Walz actually said. They show a 5-second clip from that. But now Pam Bondi's actually saying that hate speech is not free speech. It's just kind of crazy. And he's making political attacks. Jimmy Blackface Kimmel's apparently outrageous conduct is the problem here, not the calling out of it. It's like you're the FTC, or that you're the FCC. It is a Trump goon directly threatening Jimmy Kimmel. And why is this person making political statements? That was never normal before. Ever. That never happened before. I know conservatives have a victim complex, But much of this never happened before. The president never signed executive orders going after particular law firms. The president never signed executive orders going after their own previous administration's staff because they certified the results of the 2020 election, or they said the election was not stolen. That never happened before. A president has never threatened ABC and CBS with personal lawsuits and then the executive authority and forced them to give him $16 million or whatever. That never happened before. Never. Never happened. I know some liberal college kids pissed you off and made you piss your pants and cry a lot. But that's not the same as big government authoritarian power. Cancel culture, the culture of canceling people, is not in any way the same as this big government authoritarian crackdown. It's not similar whatsoever. There is no comparison to be made here. No comparison whatsoever. Great news for America. The ratings challenge. Jimmy Kimmel's show was canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on Fox News. NBC, the ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC. President DJT.
For the people, and I think it's for the people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk. Look, we have a First Amendment in this country. The First Amendment protects a lot of very ugly speech. But if you celebrate Charlie Kirk's death, you should not be protected from being fired for being a disgusting person. If you're a university professor who benefits from American tax dollars, you should not be celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. And if
people are getting fired for simply quoting Charlie Kirk. Oh, $5 from some country. He had a trans GF, hated fascism. His own family said argues with his dad on politics. You know what, dude? Not only leftists, not only liberals, not only moderates, not only conservatives hate fascism. A lot of people hate fascism. Now, this person believed in the Second Amendment as the core cause for freedom in America, the core reason for freedom in America. His father believed in the Three Percenters. He believed in militias to protect the Second Amendment. He believed in violence to protect freedom. Like, the truth is, he seems like a radical centrist. He has some libertarian beliefs on guns and trans people. He probably broke one day and went crazy.
If you are, maybe you should lose your job.
Did Kirk?
We're going after you. JD Vance issues serious
Kirk's
warning.
assassin act alone. How big of a threat is trans terrorism? And why is Barack Obama?
If you look in the actual Discord chat, you see the people in there are shocked. They are shocked of what's happening. They even said Charlie Kirk did not deserve to go out like that. They felt bad about it. They're like, holy shit, this is crazy. And he said, hey guys, I'm the one who did it. They were shocked. They did not know about this. Again, he's a apolitical, like centrist-minded person. He's pro-trans for sure. He's also pro-Second Amendment. He seems like a libertarian. He might be a gay Republican. He grew up in a Mormon family, grew up in a Christian family. We don't know his full beliefs. He probably just broke. People that do these things are crazy. They are crazy. They are not normal. And they're blaming this on Antifa terrorist cells after Fox News just said we should be killing homeless people, and there was a mass shooting of homeless people. I think 10 were killed in Minnesota directly after these statements on Fox News were made.
Obama pointing fingers. Here's part 2 of my exclusive with.
Yeah, Barack Obama pointed fingers at Trump for refusing to condemn political violence. For refusing to.
Vice President J.D. Vance.
Every normal person said no more political violence. Trump said, hey, some political violence is okay. Trump said that.
The FBI is now looking into as many as 20 or more other people who may have corresponded with this assassin beforehand. There may have been foreknowledge of the shooting. If there are co-conspirators here, what kind of threat level?
Just like that note from Kash Patel that they said the FBI, they know what it said, right? Kash Patel said they know what this letter says, but the evidence has been destroyed, but they're going to replicate that letter. Why is there a letter they know the contents of that got destroyed? How did a letter in the hands of the FBI, how did they get the writing from this letter? And also, how did it get destroyed? How did the Marxist Karl Marx dog eat their homework?
Are we talking about?
Well, we don't know, Jesse, and that's why I've been so proud of Kash and the way that he's handled this investigation.
Oh yeah, everyone's proud of Kash and Pam Bondi.
Possible, and the FBI really is looking at everything. By the way, there's a lot of weird stuff out there. For example, the CEO of Discord, or one of the leaders of Discord, said that there were no Discord chats that involved this guy. Now we know that there were Discord chats that involved this guy. So we need to look at everything. We need to leave no stone unturned.
That was a breaking news article before any FBI information was obtained. That's why breaking news cannot be trusted. But JD Vance has a Twitter brain. So
my own attitude to this, and people will send me stuff, Jesse, you know, from the deepest, darkest corners of the internet. Some of it sounds pretty crazy, but I'll send it to Cash and I'll talk to my team because I want us to leave no stone unturned. It's the only way to honor Charlie is to get to the bottom of exactly how this person was radicalized and who else was involved in it. Now, we could find out that this person was radicalized and it was terrible and there were a lot of very evil people.
He could be a lone wolf narcissist who wanted to be a hero or who wanted to be famous. He literally wrote the memes on there, and the messages said he wanted to write memes so Fox News would read it out loud. He thought it would be funny. He said it would be so funny if Fox News talked about a bulge. That's what he said in the text messages. He said it'd be funny. It was memes. The memes had barely any significance other than being memes. It's the memification of violence in America. This was a cringy gamer kid who went crazy. That's pretty much the bottom line of it. It's just so insane. And the DOJ deleted their own studies on how right-wing terrorism and right-wing extremism and right-wing domestic terrorism and attacks, right-wing violence is much more prevalent than left-wing. When someone in El Paso went through shooting just Latinos, saying they're invading us, repeating Donald Trump quotes. When the kid in Buffalo, New York, went there to gun down black people, repeating quotes from white supremacists, and he literally said sorry when he pointed a gun at white people in this school. The neo-Nazi in Minnesota that did the school shooting, who they say is the trans shooter, the thing about them being trans is not the interesting thing. The interesting thing is how they believed that Somalis were invading Minnesota, like Charlie Kirk always said. Okay, and they believed that America was being displaced by Jewish people in the Great Replacement theory, and black people. They were trans. You know, maybe they were detransitioning, whatever. But the main thing there is not that they were trans, it's that they were a part of a neo-Nazi forum on the internet, which radicalizes school shooters. But if you want to focus on your identity groups you don't like, you're going to miss that point. The school shooting in Colorado that happened on the same day of Charlie Kirk was motivated by the same things. Far-right neo-Nazi forums on X. But they're not going to bring X to testify. They're going to bring Twitch CEO to testify. Not X, though, not Elon Musk, about internet radicalization. The #1 neo-Nazi program in American history. In world history, there's never been more neo-Nazi impressions than on X. The kids, at the beginning of the year who shot up schools, they were also in the same neo-Nazi forums on the internet. The person who killed the Democrats in Minnesota and all the dumbass MAGA supporters who keep on drooling from their mouths saying, oh, he was the Democrat, when he literally had a list of Democrats to kill. He had flyers of the No Kings protest. Yeah, he did have those. So he can go and shoot them up. He literally worked for nursing homes with the goal of investigating bodies for COVID vaccine death, proof. He was a lunatic. He had a list of pro-life advocates, or pro-choice. He had a list of pro-choice advocates, pro-abortion clinics. He was going to go kill pro-abortion, pro-choice. That was his main motivator. He was a Trump supporter who did the Minnesota assassinations. The man who set Josh Shapiro's house on fire. All right? I think someone said he's a pro-Palestine person. You know who else is pro-Palestine right now because it's against the Israel, which they've used the Jews? So the far-right groups on the internet. That same person who set Josh Shapiro's house on fire in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania governor, that person convinced his family to vote Trump in 2024. He was also a Trump supporter. This is all right-wing violence, much more prevalent than left-wing violence. But they don't care about violence in America. They don't give a shit about Charlie Kirk. They care about using his name as a martyr for their authoritarian political movement.
In his life, but they didn't have foreknowledge.
Right.
We may find out that there were many, many people who were involved in helping this guy pull off the shooting. We just have to get to the bottom of it. That's what justice demands. That's what being a good friend to Charlie demands.
Or maybe Kash Patel is a dipshit dumbass. He's like, I don't have the Epstein files anymore, Joe Rogan. I don't know what to tell you about the Epstein files. I don't know about the pedophiles. Like, that guy is a piece of shit. He was having dinner in New York when they found the guy. Not when they found the guy. When the guy was reported by his own father because they couldn't find him because they're dipshits with Kash Patel. Kash Patel had to fly out back to Utah. He delayed the press conference like 5 hours because that dumbass was not actually at work, because he never is. He was not supposed to talk there either, because that can implicate the legal case as well. If the FBI director is saying dumbass shit like, I'll see you in Valhalla. I'll see you in Valhalla, brother. It's crazy.
Militant
no
transgender
accountability,
movement,
no personal responsibility.
Is that a domestic terrorist threat?
If you are...
Dude, yeah, the trans people are #1 in super violent assassin gangs. All right, they are militias, they're privately, ending Western civilization but on their own. But also, they can't serve in the military because they can't handle. Yeah, it's about the transphobia. They don't give a shit.
Are encouraging people to commit acts of violence against the United States government or against your fellow Americans, absolutely, you're involved in a terrorist movement. I don't know enough about that particular organization.
Wait, so if Trump pardoned somebody who tased the neck of a cop, all right, and beat a cop with his own riot shield, and then that same person that Trump pardoned from January 6th went on to go molest children, what does that make Trump? if people involved in this are terrorists, JD Vance. And by the way, they would never answer a question like this because people like this don't have actual conversations. They go to safe podcasts or they set up debates on universities with a bunch of dipshit college kids who are not ready for media performances because it's a performance for them. It's not a real discussion or a conversation.
But what you increasingly see, Jesse, is you see people in the trans community and other members of the far left who are saying they are so threatened by negative rhetoric that they must take arms and attack people. If your movement is telling you to commit acts of violence against people for speaking words that you don't like, number one, you're evil, and number two, you are engaged.
Bro, I knew people. I'm from a really big Trump area, all right? And I knew people who were begging for arms to be taken up after Obama said he was black, all right? After Obama, there was a mass shooting of, like, black people in the South, and Obama sang about it in that one church. And he, like, mentioned Trayvon Martin once, and they're like, oh, Obama caused racism, guys. We gotta take up arms. He's gonna take our guns. It's just like, bro, no one who knows any Trump supporters or conservatives would say leftists or liberals are the most violent people in America when it comes to rhetoric. Like, every conservative I know, like, dreams of a home invasion so they can use the Second Amendment to protect their homes. It's just like, we got to come together as Americans and stop doing this tribalism. We all have difficulties doing things in America. All right, I was against liberal cancel culture. I was against much of that. But right now we have the biggest attack on the First Amendment in American history, the biggest attack on identity groups in American history, in modern American history, sorry, since the Civil Rights Movement, which they all hate the Civil Rights Movement, like Charlie Kirk said, they wish it never happened. But we all need to come together to protect each other because someday the executive branch might be in a different party's position, and you don't want to be a conservative with a left authoritarian, with a left-wing authoritarian. Because you have not seen that at all yet. You've seen, like, very moderate liberals. We all need to be stable and maintain fundamental freedoms in America in this time period. Like the NRA saying that trans people should be allowed to have guns because the Trump admin tried banning trans people from having guns just like a week ago because they're anti-gun too. They're only pro-gun for people they like.
In a terrorist movement, and that's part of what we have to root out in the White House. And this is very important, Jesse. I've talked to a lot of people about this. I've talked to, Stephen Miller probably 7 times in the past 2 days. We are working very hard to ensure that the funding networks for left-wing violence, that the radicalization networks for left-wing violence, that if
they could never say any actual details here, they need to, craft some propaganda to make sure they have, like, fake information. That's why they can't really bring lawsuits or court hearings, or they can't do anything with in a legal sense whatsoever. They will try to run through this all with propaganda and use the executive branch's power like they did with Jimmy Kimmel and a bunch of other like schools, using federal funding as a weapon to enact their policies first off. They don't want to bash through the American court system yet because they know this is all very unconstitutional, but they're going to try to do as much as they possibly can at one time with the executive branch so the courts can't really catch up and they can get enough of a freezing effect because every university and broadcasting network is going to say, I don't want them to come after me, so they're going to submit early.
If you encourage or fund your fellow Americans or anybody else to commit acts of violence because you
Thank you for $2. The MAGA people in your chat are such clowns. And yeah, a big January 6th thing was people planned out, like, the sedition was they had plans ahead of time. If they made it to the lawmakers, not all of them were ready to go, kidnap Nancy Pelosi, but some of them were, and some of them did beat up cops. Many of them did. And they got pardoned, and many of them went out to be child predators right after that. But you don't care about those kids. You only care about kids that are attacked by immigrants because you could use that for your political means. You don't care that Trump pulled the FBI away from child sex trafficking, and he moved those agents towards patrolling the rich parts of D.C. to patrol, like, Lululemon and shit. Like, FBI agents taking off these trafficking units to go on ICE raids. But you don't care about that. You hate immigrants more than you care about kids. Look at Epstein. Look at the Epstein files.
Agree with political speech, you are going to be treated like a terrorist organization, and we're going to go after you.
Because Joe Biden said white supremacy was the biggest domestic terror threat.
Which, of course, is absurd. The statistics don't.
It objectively is.
Bear that out. But if you look
at the stats do. That's why they had to delete all the stats. Even the Cato Institute, the libertarian right-wing think tank, came to that conclusion. It's not even close, by the way. It's not even close.
At what the Biden administration did against the phantom threat of white supremacy, we actually need to take.
Remember, like, again, the Buffalo grocery store that was shot up by a guy live streaming to Twitch. He killed only the black people inside. That's not a threat. The person in El Paso killing random people in like a Walmart, going after just Latinos. Is that not a threat? Screaming, "There's an invasion! There's an invasion!" And he's the one who's being the terrorist. Are those not threats? Going into Jewish you know, synagogues and lighting it up. Going to black churches down south, is that not a threat to you? That's not a threat. That's an invisible fake. I mean, to JD Vance's audience, it's a threat because you know, they've either been lucky enough to not be near that, or they're not a minority group that'd be targeted by these people.
Some of the lessons and say if there is funding sources that is going for this stuff, if you're an NGO and you're actually funding riots and other kinds of political violence, why wouldn't we go after that? Why wouldn't we cut off those funding sources? And why wouldn't we prosecute people who engage in violence? It's interesting, Jesse. The people who are saying this is Gestapo stuff, they're calling us Nazis for saying that if you're funding or supporting left-wing violence, you ought to pay consequences for it. It really makes you think that the left has not done any of the soul searching it has to do to actually deal with political violence in this country.
Good projection. Good projection. And again, remember, they say that the Democrats in Minnesota were assassinated by a Democrat. When the guy had a list of Democrats to kill, and he was a crazy anti-vaxxer who would steal old people and dead bodies from funeral homes and try to inspect their bodies for proof of vaccine injury. So, like, the reports of the intel committees, and this is a Democrat from Connecticut, but you could see the cuts. All right, you can see the cuts happening in the memos. You can see the FBI agents and what they're actually doing. You can see them patrolling places like D.C. And you can see the reassignments, all right, away from domestic terrorism operations. And that's really a spit in the face of Charlie Kirk, not focusing them on actual political violence. You know, you could see cuts from the FBI. So the FBI's budget is being cut by $500 million, so we could fund more immigration raids. The DEA is being cut by $500 million, or wait, $400 million. No, that's ATF and DEA cut by around $500 million. Like, this is all easily Googleable. And as I say that, someone said, waiting for you to prove any of your claims. It's not worth it though, guys. They don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't care. You can show them all the intel reports. You can show them all the articles. You can show them all the different budgets being cut from these areas, from domestic terrorism and trafficking. But they don't care. Like, the guy's gonna keep on commenting, and he's gonna keep on being a dumbass. I don't know you. I don't know if you can convince them. They've already decided. And I'm hoping for the moderates. I'm hoping all the moderates watching this, who are truly in the middle. I'm hoping you can see what's going on here. What's going on here? Yeah, they're cutting 6,000 FBI agents. And they're focusing efforts more towards freaking immigration, bro, to go after Home Depot employees.
Jasmine Crockett says, yeah, she calls people Hitler, but it doesn't mean she's responsible for any violence that happens.
Wait, who called who Hitler?
Yeah, she calls people Hitler.
And I mean, Trump called Kamala. He said that Biden had like a Hitler Gestapo. He said Kamala was a fascist, Marxist, communist, socialist, whatever. He just called Mamdani a communist a couple days ago. Like, the dehumanization from the right has been insane. But again, they don't care. It's not principled. It's all about power to them.
But it doesn't mean she's responsible for any violence that happens.
Well, I'd ask Jasmine Crockett, what is it?
See, guys, I just showed the letter that he can go look up right now, and the person's still commenting. I told you. Prove your claims. A, it's not worth it. He just, like, everything I said other than it's not worth it, he ignored. You can see it in the chat right now. I'm live streaming for anyone watching this back. I just showed the letter with the resources. I showed the budget cut numbers. And then I said, you know what? I'm showing you this right now, but it's not worth it because I can't convince you because your mind is already made up. And he literally comments after I say that. He comments a quote of me saying, prove your claims. A, it's not worth it. He did not respond to any of the points I made. Right? That's how they work.
You want people to do when you call them Nazis? What is it that you want them to do when you call them fascists? What is the proper response?
When Trump calls Kamala a fascist, they're hypocrites. How do you respond to people who are not honest?
When you say that Donald Trump and JD Vance and Charlie Kirk are threatening your safety, what do you expect people to do?
It's just like, it's really the InfoWars. It's the InfoWars.
This rhetoric is completely out of control, and it's part of this entire network of violence that exists on the far left. You dehumanize your political opponents. You fund paid activists to go and harass them and terrorize them. We've had a White House senior staffer just in the past week who has had actual representatives of the Democratic Party going around passing leaflets trying to get his neighbors to harass him and showing people where he lives, where his wife lives, where his young family lives. If that's not political...
Remember when Trump was posting pictures of judges' children he didn't like? He signed an executive order that was unconstitutional, trying to take away birthright citizenship against the everything in our constitution. And he posted a picture of the judge's daughter. Trump to his main social media. Now she's getting death threats constantly since then. It's been a few months. I'm pretty sure it was a judge that George Bush appointed, or he appointed himself. He's calling him a communist and a Marxist, and putting his daughter on blast on social media. Like, these people are disgusting hypocrites. But they're in power, and they're going to use that power to... I mean, I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised at all if we start seeing liberals like myself banned from YouTube, and banned from Twitch, and banned from Twitter. These are fully authoritarian guys, all right? They're fully authoritarian, and we need people to wake up to it.
Violence, if that's not political harassment, I don't know what the term means.
Barack Obama says your White House is dividing the
Words
country,
are violence.
and you're exploiting Kirk's death to attack Democrats.
We're not exploiting Charlie Kirk's death to do anything.
Yo, the guy who commented, prove your claims, A, it's not worth it, and he rejected all of my actual, like, words. He did not respond to it. Now he said, y'all lost to Trump 2 out of 3 times and only won by 50K. Number one, you can't count. You can't count in 2020 because you're drooling on your phone right now, donating money to me. Thank you for the money. But again, remember, they cannot attack the actual arguments. They can be like, we won, because they're brain dead. All right, they cannot respond to actual arguments. This is when they say, I'm getting radicalized, because they can't respond to brains that are functional. They just start crying in the chat.
Except for achieve justice. And I think if Barack Obama, I haven't seen that comment, Jesse,
We
but if he
won
said
every
that's absolutely
time.
disgusting. What we're trying to do is understand how young people are getting radicalized and who is funding all of these efforts at radicalization. We saw this in the summer of 2020. Now, thank God that wasn't...
Oh, yes, 2020, yes.
Primarily, actually, over 20 people died in the riots in the summer of 2020. That is political terrorism. But it's not just the people who are killing the cops. It's not just the people who are engaging and throwing the Molotov cocktails and in the riots. Where was the money coming from? Who was organizing this violent activity? That is not going after Democrats unless, by implication, you're saying...
Acting like this is a huge orchestrated thing is 100% calling for a full imprisonment of political opponents, because there's not like a singular financial network, obviously. There's not a George Soros conspiracy. They're asking for legal action to defund every single nonprofit, every single political action, anything, pretty much. It's just really difficult. And by proportion... never mind. I'm not even going to do those arguments. It's just sad. It's sad. Like the couple attacks, the few attacks we have on grocery stores with white supremacists going to just kill black and brown people. Those minor attacks, not minor, but those attacks alone have a much higher death toll. Much higher death toll. But they would never talk about that. They'll talk about a protest that involved millions and millions and millions and millions of people during a pandemic that had a higher crime rate already. When Trump was president, by the way. They'll bring that up because they're not honest. They're just not honest.
Every single Democrat is involved in planning political violence. If that's true, then the problem is on Barack Obama's side. We're going to get to the bottom of the truth, and we're going to stop the political violence. And we're going to do it however we have to do it, of course, within the constitutional limits that Charlie loves so much.
Joe Biden's FBI investigated Turning Point, investigated Charlie Kirk.
I found out a couple of days ago, Jesse, that Joe Biden's FBI investigated a dear friend of mine who's a political consultant. They were sicking law enforcement after their political opponents.
Wait, what
every
did they
single
investigate
day.
them for?
It's an open secret.
They should have some actual information. Okay, if it's that crazy, tell us what they investigated for. What's the information?
Talking about having law enforcement go after the people who engage in and fund literal violence, and they're saying somehow that's beyond the...
It was looked at in the investigation after they tried stealing the election in 2020. That was the investigation. It was just information about the 2020 election. There was no verified wrongdoing whatsoever. When you...
pale, even though we know Joe Biden's FBI was investigating Charlie Kirk, maybe they should have been investigating the networks that motivated...
There was never a full investigation focusing on any wrongdoing by TPUSA. They were just involved in a group of conservative networks that were investigated at a minor level for seeing if they were involved in trying to overturn the election and in any conspiracy. There was nothing settled whatsoever. There's no verified public record with any wrongdoing or accusations. There's no, like, intimidation. There's no anything. They just say these things. But that's why they don't give any information, right? They just say, oh, they attacked us, guys. They attacked us.
Inspired and maybe even funded Charlie Kirk's murder. If they had, Charlie...
Even funded Charlie Kirk's murder is insane, bro. Imagine whenever there was a white supremacist shooter that says we're being invaded and they just shoot a bunch of brown people in a grocery store. Imagine if we said Donald Trump funded this. They would rightfully piss and shit themselves, right? I mean, it's bullshit. It's completely bullshit to say that. Now, I can say that Trump using the rhetoric to dehumanize black and brown people and immigrants is bad and probably leading towards political violence, but I would never say this is funded directly by the Republican Party. When you say that language as J.D. Vance or whoever, you're trying to eradicate your political opponents. It's the same rhetoric in 1930s in Germany. It literally is just like, in every single authoritarian regime, they talk about their opponents like this. They killed Charlie Kirk. They tried killing Trump. They went after Kavanaugh. They killed Charlie Kirk. They them together. They made a mistake. We shall get vengeance on them. All right, they're using they, them pronouns now. All of a sudden, they want to use they, them pronouns when they want to demonize people and attack freedom of speech. They. All Republicans, Democrats did this. Democrats funded this. No evidence. No. They want mob control. They want anger. A bunch of Nepo babies trying to cause America to have a civil war so they can fight, so we can fight each other while they get more money, while they get more power. They want America to fight each other, so Russia and China can reign supreme, so India can reign supreme, so BRICS can reign supreme, so our country can be ripped apart by corporate oligarchs. That's the main point here. One of the big points here. They're using us like pawns. They want you to be pawns. You're playing in as pawns. They never thought it would be so easy. All they got to do is go on Joe Rogan and be like, those pronouns are stupid, and you dumbasses would sell our entire country away.
Kirk might be alive today.
I'm glad we have transparency. We need transparency on this trial. Do you support putting cameras in the courtroom so we can see this assassin face justice?
You know, I've never thought of that, Jesse.
Someone said, bro, a Democrat dark money ring got exposed. I know what organization you're talking about. I know that organization you're talking about. That Democrat or that liberal organization, Chorus, I assume you're talking about, has probably one I don't even know a big enough number. They probably have 1% of the funding TPUSA does. TPUSA is a dark money group, by the way. TPUSA, if you want to criticize the Democrat dark money group, then TPUSA does that times a million, bro. Times a million. TPUSA is a literal dark money 501c4 and C3. Like, that's what they have. That's what they have. But again, they're hypocrites. They don't care. They don't care.
Sure,
they don't care. They'll say it. They'll use it as a. They'll say, "Oh, Democrats have a liberal 501c3 or C4." They don't give a shit. They don't care, or they don't know Turning Point USA was a 501c4 too, and they have more dark money than any 501c4 in probably American history, especially now with their donations. But they don't care. It's not a values thing. It's not principles. They just hate liberals.
Transparency in all ways. I think having the trial, recorded, having it on TV, that strikes me as a good idea. But the most important thing I think that we can do as a government, aside from reporting and actually televising the trial, is we just have to be honest with people about what we're finding. And we're really trying to do that. Look, investigations are complicated and difficult. There's a fog of war where a lot of information comes in. We're trying to screen it. I've told this to Cash. I've told this to our Department of Justice. The most important thing that we can do is just be honest about what we're finding, how we're finding it, when we're finding it, because I think that transparency is going to give people the faith that we're doing this the right way.
Well, I'd like to thank you for joining us. I know this has been a tough time. We were very close with Charlie Kirk. And I'd also like to thank our Turning Point students over here for joining us. Why don't you guys give Charlie Kirk a nice round of applause?
Here. He was a good guy, Jesse. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice.
They don't care about Charlie Kirk at all. They do not care. They don't care. They don't care. They're doing things that show they don't care. They're using him for political power. Trump does not care. No one cares. All right. No one cares except I mean, his family probably cares. Maybe Candace Owens. Candace Owens might care. But many of these people are just being very self-serving, using his studio and everything. It's all clout chasing. It's kind of sad, actually. It's kind of sad. Please drop a like, comment, follow, subscribe.
Yeah, I'm watching your show, and I just think it's ridiculous that you're saying that Donald Trump or the right wants a civil. Yeah, I'm watching your show, and I just think it's ridiculous that you're saying that Donald Trump or the right wants a civil war, or that Donald Trump wants a civil war. If America devolves into a civil war, that's just gonna mainstream China being able to either invade America themselves, take over Taiwan, or Russia fully go take over Ukraine. So no, the far right does not want a
those are
civil
all
war, bro.
things.
Because if
Okay,
they
this
had
is a voicemail. Those are all things that Trump supports. He supports China being a global power. He literally just said Russia, China, India have fun together, blah blah blah. He supports Russia taking Ukraine. He is very weak on these countries. That is fully aligned with what they want to do. These countries have used their bots and propaganda networks to get this government installed, and now they are using their propaganda networks to make us fight each other. All these accounts, most of them are bot accounts that make us fight each other, or they're paid by foreign governments. They want us to fight each other, and people fall into the trap. So yeah, it does serve those countries, and yeah, that's what they want. Yeah, that's why it seems like Trump is a foreign asset for a lot of people who pay attention. Like yeah. All right, you can call in now. If you want to call in, you can call in.
Today, we heard from the former director of the CDC for the first time since she was fired just 29 days after being confirmed by the Senate. Susan.
Hello, is this a stream?
Yeah, it is. What's up?
Hey, so I also believe that it's ridiculous that you will say that Trump is the reason and he wants a civil war and let China win. He explicitly denied wanting a civil war in public remarks when he asked about comments accusing wanting a civil war on the streets, and Trump and the people asked him, did he want a civil war on the streets? Trump answered, no, I do not want a civil war, using that he publicly disowned these ideas. He supports a strong law and order steps, federal deployments, guard mobilization framed as preventing chaos, not provoking violence and conflict. His posture, his public posture has been federalized forces and or push law enforcement measures during unrest, a claim you can use to argue. He prefers organized enforcement, and I believe that he does this to prevent open fighting. Another reason why I believe that Trump probably does not want China or Russia to win in a U.S. strategic defeat. He repeatedly framed China as an economic strategic rival and has pushed multiple economic tools in Trump's policies. One of Trump's policy documents and speeches, his administration emphasizes holding China accountable tariffs, with tariffs trade.
The tariffs help China. The tariffs help China so far. It really helped China so far with the tariffs.
Oh, they helped China? Have you not seen the civil unrest in China, such as the local protests?
They've had issues for sure, but Trump's tariffs have helped China isolate more of the global economy in their direction. It isolated America more so. Now China is the most popular they've ever been. Europe has struck it. Hey, you just talked for like 5 minutes. Europe has struck historical agreements with China, with EVs, with batteries, with all those new age technologies that we're turning our back on in America. When we withdrew all of USAID, China went crazy with their Belt and Road Initiative. They went crazy filling in gaps at the World Health Organization and other economic partnerships globally as well. So like China's eating right now with America being so incompetent, and Russia as well. Russia is doing amazing. Israel, Russia, China have all benefited greatly from Trump's policies.
Interesting. And that's the only claims that you have, or as you like to say, probably facts.
It's called a conversation. You don't usually monologue back and forth in a conversation, do you? Or do you usually do that? You watch Charlie Kirk a lot?
I do not. So
okay.
You say that Trump has actually helped China with tariffs, correct? So basically, why would Joe Biden do energy policies that limited the U.S. wealth and domestic oil gas production, causing us to not even lead close to other nations with such wealth, and maybe even have income coming in from Europe using our oil supplies? Instead of Europe using Russia oil supplies, Joe, no, I'm sorry. Instead of letting Europe use our oil supplies to increase our economy, Joe Biden decided to cut back on policies and go at a green leaf initiative, which will lower down workers and also even had my own father fired from his job due to the regulations. We already see things like this happening in
Wait,
places
so
like
you know
Alberta,
that Joe
Canada.
Biden had record oil production under his term, right?
He did not.
Yeah, in 2023 we had record oil production in America.
Can you give me a little bit of facts on this? Like look up it up on anything.
Yeah, I could find the graph really quick. I'm shocked you don't know this, since you know so much about the energy industry, and oil, and your father works in it, so you probably should know some of this, I assume.
Please present the facts.
Okay, here's a graph from the Energy Institute, Our World in Data. So it's just the graph of our total oil production. I could look up the numbers too, but Biden had some of the highest number of drilling leases in American history. He also had the highest oil production. We had the most energy independence that we had in like 50 years under Biden. And if your father lost his job, it's probably the greedy corporations moving people around. It's not really the issue of the government. Sometimes corporations do bad things that are bad for people. You should probably blame the corporation instead of Biden.
Okay. So you don't think that Trump is the one that initiated those actions about the pandemic?
No, I mean, under Biden, there was no reduction in total oil production. On federal lands, especially, if I can get this article up, it's a Substack by someone. So I have a graph that's really big on the screen right now. So if you look at total oil production on federal lands, Biden continued signing leases. He did stop like some forms of offshore drilling, but that was made up in other forms as well, that filled that gap. But yeah, Biden drilled more oil than Trump did. In 2023, with green energy plus gas and oil plus coal, we had the highest energy independence in American history under Biden. But you just said like the opposite.
You realize that Joe Biden didn't create any of that, correct?
I thought Joe Biden killed our gas and oil industry. How did he have the number one of all time, and how did he kill it?
Because he wasn't the one that created it. And with
Wait,
the
I
green
thought you said he killed
believe-
it. You said he killed it. You said your dad lost his job because of Joe Biden. Why did your dad lose his
Oh,
job?
yeah, he
Was he
did.
bad at it?
He did.
Well, how do we have high oil production
He was
in
working.
American
He was
history?
working in Montana.
How do we have
crude
all-time
oil
high
from the
though?
land.
But how do we have such a good oil industry in America, but your dad lost his job? It's not Biden's fault, then. It's the company.
Let me look this information up real quick. One moment. So basically what I'm seeing is that demand was increased after COVID-19 and high prices and global supply shocks. The invasion of Ukraine by Russia reply strains, which increased U.S. oil to giving back to the U.S. basically funded Europe during the oil crisis in Europe, which increased our oil demand in other places due to Russia going into war and different regulations being put on Russia. So it wasn't necessarily Joe Biden that increased our oil production, but it was more of the supply and demand that increased the production. So really it wasn't Joe Biden that increased it.
No, you said Joe Biden killed our oil industry. In Biden's first 2 years, Joe Biden signed 6,430 permits for drilling on public lands. Compared to Trump's first 2 years, that's 300 more. Biden was probably more big oil than Trump was his first term even. Trump, there was barely any difference between the two. It's just a weird criticism to go after Biden for when he he did not hinder the gas and oil industry whatsoever. He did some things that were good for the environment, but it really did not hurt the industry for America.
Yeah, when I was saying that, I wasn't really referring back to foreign nations. I was really referring to our own land that gas prices were soaring. And
No. Okay, in
caused,
those countries, it went up a lot more. We had the cheapest gas prices in America. We had the cheapest here, but other countries went up more. But it's not Biden's fault.
we don't have
the whole
cheapest.
globe had
That's
inflation.
incorrect. We don't have the cheapest. We have one. We
Yeah,
have
no,
one
we
of the
did
lowest,
have
but not the
versus
cheapest.
Europe. Ours was like the half the price of Europe. Europe had like $8 gas prices
No,
everywhere.
I'm
or
referring to the entire planet, not just Europe.
Do you know
said
that
we have
like
the cheapest
our
one.
who
We
do you
didn't
think
say
controls our
Europe.
gas and oil in America? Who controls our gas and oil supply and where it goes?
More than likely companies.
Yeah, so how can Biden be criticized for the prices and where the oil goes?
By implementing multiple different things such as greenhouse energy, lowering
Wait,
you have to,
implementing
like,
greenhouse
lower
energy? What
your
does that
carbon
mean?
footprint.
Implementing greenhouse energy? What does that mean?
When you same thing that's happening in like Alberta, where you limit how much carbon a company can use, or how much carbon dioxide they can emit into the atmosphere. That's what I'm talking about. You limit it.
How did it just doesn't match up with the data?
Such as this. One moment. Let me get the exact name of what it's called. So basically, he put taxes on certain countries. I mean, companies, but as such as the methane rules and methane fee, which, excuse me, because it's but it's not a CO2, but it caused companies to lower their standards. Also, for the standards for power plants, he implemented the EPA under the Joe Biden setup, which reduced the pollution, including CO2 and other climate health related emissions. He regulated on super pollutants, which I believe is called the HFC Global Agreement. He rejoined that commitment from, I believe it was going to be up to 2030, I believe, which reduces, I believe, 50 to 52%. He signed and supported this global ideal. He implemented the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA and climate investment, the IRA.
I'm sorry. I'm not listening to someone just reading off a ChatGPT page. It's just kind of crazy. I don't know. It's obvious when you're just like directly reading something. I don't know. It's just kind of painful. Oh, that guy made me tired, dude. Oh. Caller was asking Grok, how did Biden kill the energy industry? Yeah, that was a little crazy. It's like it could not have been that bad if you were, I don't know, maybe. Oh God, dude. Bernie Sanders goes after the Jimmy Kimmel suspension, dude, and authoritarianism in America.
Today, we heard from the former director of the CDC for the first time since she was fired, just 29 days after being confirmed by the Senate. Susan Menarez, who was chosen and nominated by Donald Trump, testified before the Senate Health Committee about.
That's crazy, bro. I mean, Trump went after judges he nominated his first term, but going after someone that was actually confirmed like 29 days ago in this current Trump administration and saying they are too pro-vaccine and all this crazy stuff, it's actually crazy. Like this is already a more radical option for MAGA, and she was not good enough, bro.
How she was fired for, quote, holding the line on scientific integrity, telling senators about the meeting with Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that ultimately led to her dismissal.
On the morning of August 25th, Secretary Kennedy demanded two things of me that were inconsistent with my oath of office and the ethics required of a public official. He directed me to commit in advance to approving every ACIP recommendation, regardless of the scientific evidence. He also directed me to dismiss career officials responsible for vaccine policy without cause. He said if I was unwilling to do both, I should resign. I responded that I could not pre-approve recommendations without reviewing the evidence, and I had no basis to fight.
You mean the evidence made by the pharmaceutical companies? You have to do the evidence that's on my website, rfkkk.com. You can buy my ivermectin with the code 0.5% off. Buy my ivermectin and
scientific experts. He told me he had already spoken with the White House several times about having me removed. I told the secretary that if he believed he could not trust me, he could fire me. The next day, I was told I still had my job, but the Secretary's expectations remained: approval of ACIP recommendations and dismissal of career scientists. I would not commit to that, and I believe it is the true reason I was fired.
Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, is the ranking member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, which held today's hearing, and he joins me now. Senator, I knew the outlines of this story. Of course, we covered it. It was reported. I found the testimony today truly shocking. What Ms. Menarez detailed. What was your reaction?
Well, I think it was shocking, and I think two major issues popped out at me, Chris. Number one was the ferocity upon which the Kennedy people are prepared to undermine the science of vaccines. Her great crime, and the reason she was fired, as she just said, is she didn't pre-approve a set of principles that she had not seen, okay, regarding vaccines.
The
now, why
definition
these
of blind
people
loyalty.
want to defy what every major medical organization believes, what every scientific organization believes, which is that not only are vaccines safe and effective, they have saved millions and millions of lives. So I honestly do not understand why they want to break the people's trust.
They are number one crazy. They number two make a bunch of money off this bullshit. That's why they have all these websites where it's like you can't trust the medical industry because they make money, and then you can buy their ivermectin for 10% off. If you go on Fox News, bro, if you see their commercials on Fox News, it's freaking crazy. They sell pills that are like, we can cure cancer, guys. All you got to do is take this one pill with 582 different vitamins in it. We have fish oils. We have RFK, dead whale carcass. We can fix anything you have. I saw pills that fix diabetes. I saw pills that fix ADHD, bro. That's why they're so anti-Adderall, bro. They don't like Adderall at all because pharmaceutical companies make money, bro. But you can buy their super special pills for $100 that have herbs in it, bro.
In vaccines. And by the way, as we discussed at the hearing, what I fear about is not only what happens for our kids today and in the immediate future. Most of the scientists believe that another pandemic is coming. They don't know what it will look like. They don't know when it will be.
Yeah, we're currently losing herd immunity in America, and it's a big issue with a lot of privilege today. Privilege, ultimate privilege, modern privilege. People don't realize what polio actually means. They don't know what measles actually means on a broad scale. They don't know what these diseases actually mean. They've been so disconnected from struggle that they've, willingly left this cushy paradise we have from these huge, massive diseases that were huge issues throughout our time, and they're going to find out again. But we're all going to find out. They're going to bring all of us down with them.
And what Kennedy is doing is making it very difficult for us to prepare for that pandemic, which, God forbid, could take millions of lives. The second issue that popped out of me today was the authoritarian nature of what Kennedy and his people do. You hire somebody to be head of the CDC, one of the most important public health officials in America, and then you say, it doesn't matter what you think.
Right.
This is what we will tell you. We are politicians. You do what we want. You don't want to do it, you are out of here.
That was never normal. It was never normal for the DOJ or for the FBI or for the CDC to be public political figures. They should be disconnected from the political process because you don't want them doing jobs and worrying about how popular things are. Popularity should not matter. Being correct should matter. The government should be confirming people who know how to do the job and trying to be as correct as possible. You're not going to be perfect, but at least it's not political because politics can get people killed in the wrong positions.
Things that popped up to me today.
Not only that, I mean, she told your colleague, Senator Cassidy, who, sort of hemmed and hawed and reluctantly voted for Kennedy, even though he's a doctor.
He's a piece of garbage. Cassidy, bro. Being a doctor and voting for this, I can't imagine betraying your oath like that.
And now seems to be having a little buyer's remorse, that they're going to change the childhood vaccine schedule, for the whole country, and that book is already cooked. The fix is in.
Well, we will see what happens tomorrow. Their meeting is tomorrow. But the idea that you fire all of the people who are on that committee and you bring in people who are vaccine skeptics is rather extraordinary.
Hold on, really quick, bro. Really quick, bro. Look at me. I'm the snowflake now. He said something mean about my president. He shouldn't be on the internet anymore. True. It's not cancel culture. It's state repression. It's an order from the government. If you don't read the script, you'll be taken off air. That is the main point here. Cancel culture is a culture I criticized. I criticized that culture. A 12-year-old kid saying the N-word on tape, terrible, stupid. But if he's 18 going into college, do not ruin his life over it. If they say something really crazy, I support it, all right? Cancel culture can be a culture where people on the internet, you know, would target somebody. I did not like it much of the time. But this is not cancel culture, all right? Cancel culture would be better than this. This is state repression. This is somebody from the FCC going on air and threatening private companies. And these private companies, like this article says, did not want to do this. Jimmy Kimmel said nothing over the line, nothing at all. And the executives knew that, but they only canceled Jimmy Kimmel and suspended him over fear of government retaliation because they threatened to take them off the air and to target their licensing networks. The FCC did this. They went on a show yesterday and they said Jimmy Kimmel went over the line, or was that today? After Fox News called to kill homeless people, and somebody went to do a mass shooting of homeless people today, killing like 5 or 10 homeless people in a random encampment in Minnesota. And they called for killing homeless people on Fox News. That was not a threat to community safety. But now Jimmy Kimmel, of all time, of all things, and Jimmy Kimmel, you're offended by Jimmy Kimmel? Of all people to be offended by, you choose Jimmy Kimmel. Of all people in this beautiful world to be offended by, you choose Jimmy Kimmel, bro. The hypocrisy is not as bad as you being such a little beta cuck. It's so sad, dude.
People.
So Sean Hannity from Fox News is going to say here that no prominent conservative called for Jimmy Kimmel to be suspended. Literally, the head of the FCC said he needs to be suspended. Trump said Jimmy Kimmel is going to be next on their cancellation list. And remember, it's not cancel culture. This is state oppression of the First Amendment. The executives from this private company did not want to ban Jimmy Kimmel. They knew this was bullshit. They knew he said nothing wrong, but they're so scared of the big government cracking down on them that they suspended him anyway. And this is the big fear of being anti-First Amendment. This is the First Amendment. This is the government. All right, our rights are to protect us from government oppression. It's not about the Twitter mob that the left had for a little bit. It's not the Twitter mob. This is full-on state oppression, and this dumbass here is going to act like he doesn't know what's going on.
Now, the left already, starting with Humpty Dumpty, fake news, CNN, J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom, predictably claiming this is conservative censorship. The MAGA crowd, Donald Trump got Jimmy Kimmel. That is false.
By the way, one big thing that they said Jimmy Kimmel needs to do, he needs to donate millions to TPUSA, Charlie Kirk's organization, his dark money PAC. Not a PAC, sorry, his dark money 501c4. Jimmy Kimmel, they said you got to donate to Charlie Kirk's organization too.
I can't find a single prominent conservative voice.
You mean the president of America? The president? And his FCC, who controls licensing? Not one prominent conservative. Not one prominent conservative, guys.
In the country that even remotely wanted or
not one conservative voice in the country?
Remotely wanted or hoped or was pushing to get Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air. Nobody. It just was simple. People.
Trump said, "You are next." It's so simple. Remember, they watch Fox News. People watching this don't know what's happening in the world. They believe the Democrats in Minnesota were killed by a liberal. Sorry. They believe everything. They believe everything. They don't know any of the real information here. They are hypocrite liars. And I wish Democrats had a voice But our party leaders don't have a voice because they're so pathetic. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. When we have a book about what's happening right now in the fall into fascism, if that ever happens, their name should be on the front page. They should be in the top 10 reasons list of why this happened. I'm just saying. The opposition party's weakness because of them is insane. At a time when we should be coming together as Democrats, they are fighting like Zoran Mamdani, doing bullshit. It's crazy. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe, repost, whatever. They got rid of Kimmel because he opened up a lawsuit? No. No, he didn't. Are you 10? Are you 10? And if there's a lawsuit, sue them. Don't threaten them with authoritarian government power. If there's a lawsuit. There isn't one, by the way. There is not one. There is not one at all. Or, if there is a possibility for that, then Democrats should be suing the hell out of Fox News all the time. It's called defamation. No, it's not. That's not defamation at all. That's not defamation. Saying something you think is incorrect about a developing case is not defamation. Who is being defamed? Who is being defamed here? All right. There's conflicting reports coming out of the FBI ran by Kash Patel. Right. Who's being defamed? You? Your feelings? Oh, your feelings are being defamed. Oh, honey, your feelings are being defamed. Oh, Pookie. I'm so sorry, Pookie. Your feelings are defamed. He committed libel? Oh, it's libel now? Oh, you don't know what any words mean. Holy shit, you're so cute. You're so cute. Okay, libel towards who? The same question. Libel towards who? Libel towards who, please? And by the way, libel, defamation, like, they kind of mean the same. I mean, never mind. Don't help them. Don't help them. Like, libel is a type of defamation, and it's not. Oh, you guys are special cookies. Accusing Trump of causing this, you can. That's an opinion you can have. Trump has not condemned political violence. You can have that opinion. That's an opinion. It's not defamation or libel. You. What do you think that is? Nice. All right, guys, I'm gonna go to bed. What the hell's wrong with you people? I have strongly condemned all political violence in America. The only person who has not done that is Donald Trump. I strongly condemn all political violence in America. That's why I'm anti-January 6th. Alright guys, I'm gonna head to bed. Thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna be doing some packages tomorrow morning, so gotta get some shut-eye. But I appreciate you guys watching, hanging out, really appreciate it. You guys are dope. Appreciate it, appreciate it, appreciate it, appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've only been doing like an hour every night, because I'm just too tired. And I've had no Vyvanse for a few days either, so I'm kind of off in general. Thank you for $5, Suri. Suri, thank you for $5. I just saw that. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone. Real reason Jimmy Kimmel was taken down. Nexstar already owns a lot of TV stations and wants to merge with Tangna, which owns a lot of other stations. In order to do that, it needs Brendan Carr, the FCC chair, permission, and it actually needs the FCC to change the regulations entirely about how many stations can... Oh, fuck. I hate everything right now, dude. So basically, Nexstar is a company that owns licensing and broadcasting across America, TV stations, okay, and different like local companies and all this other stuff, all right? And they are a huge company, almost a monopoly, and they think they are not big enough. So they want to combine with a bunch of other companies. Now this is past the limit that was assigned previously, because it would be too much of a monopoly. So when they banned Jimmy Kimmel, they do this because they need approval from Trump's FCC to do a merger to become an ultimate huge media monopoly. Nexstar, this company, Nexstar, and basically the Trump admin can make them do whatever they want, right? Because they need a merger to be approved by Trump's administration. And that's really scary because this would be grounds for, this is Watergate times a million, by the way. This is every scandal times a million for a president. Trump has done a lot of these, but this might be the worst. This might just be the worst. But it's really painful. It's really painful. It's really painful to see this happening in America and to see these people lying about it. And they're doing it for the service of becoming an even bigger monopoly. So for big money corruption, anti-freedom of speech, cracking down on dissenting voices, sending a chilling effect all through the world, executives knowing it's wrong to ban Jimmy Kimmel for any amount of time, forcing Jimmy Kimmel to give a donation to TPUSA. I hope he doesn't do it. I hope he doesn't do it. Fully embraced the authoritarian time we're in. Fully embrace the authoritarian time that we're actually going to be in. It's inevitable. We have to be coming together for this. Kyle, I already saw that. I saw that a million times. I appreciate you. Everyone, go watch Brian Kilmeade. I brought that up like a million times in this video. I'm going to bed. Yeah, the Fox News guy said to kill homeless people. Nice. This is the definition of real fascism too. They use levers like this to be authoritarian. They don't make fascism historically like Mussolini or Hitler. Stalin would, for example, nationalize a company. So like if you're ABC under Stalin's regime, you're going to become a part of, like, Joseph Stalin socialism would say, ABC, you're now state-run media. We own your company. You're going to be nationalized, all right? Socialized, whatever. Now, Hitler or Mussolini would say, you're not going to be a part of the government, but you're going to listen to whatever we say. It's a mafia state. Or like Putin's Russia currently. It's a mafia state. The state and companies are separate, but you do everything we say. If not, we're going to use all of our mechanisms to hold you to some standard we want you to hold to. So like right now with these different mergers, that's how fascism actually operates. Like socialism, authoritarian versus fascism, authoritarian. And we're seeing that right now in action. All right, guys, have a good night. Appreciate you. Have a good night. Have a good night. Opposite of TPUSA? We don't have that. All right, good night, guys. Have a good night. Appreciate you guys watching. Peace out. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Join Discord. Join Discord. Yeah, why is it bad for the president to cancel random TV shows they don't like? Why is that bad? I don't know. I hate Greg Gutfeld. Alright, good night, guys. Oh, you see this? Jimmy Kimmel, yeah. Brian Stelter reached out to Brandon Carr, FCC, if he had any comments, and he sent him an Office meme. It's really funny. It's hilarious. We're gonna be memed into oblivion, bro. We're gonna have a meme about nuclear weapons before we use a nuke and all die. It's gonna be awesome. It's like, haha, nukes are funny. I just don't know how independent media can carry all of this, because CNN is bullshit, MSNBC is bullshit, ABC is bullshit, the Democratic Party is bullshit, their messaging apparatus sucks. They won't hire anybody who knows anything, because everybody that knows stuff is going to be not very pro-Democrats all the way, for everything they do at least. They don't have enough edge for it. You know, I don't know. GG's. Have a good night, guys. Appreciate it. Good night.